Welcome to Pinimis Atara Parshas Vayigash. We have over here the big showdown between Yehuda and Yosef. Mazman Chanukah that the idea of Yehuda and Yosef is Yehuda is ultimately the Melech. Malchus comes from Yehuda, which means Yehuda ultimately is the Shevet in Klal Yisrael that has the midah of mirroring Malchus Shemayim. Yehuda is the most bottle to Malchus Shemayim. When you talk about Malchus, right? Malchus, you think Malchus is power, control. In Yiddishkeit, Malchus is exactly the opposite. The mitzvah of a melech is he has to have a Sefer Torah. He has to always have a Sefer Torah with him wherever he goes. Eichel, Hi'imai, Yeshbedin, Hi'imai, right? Yetzimacham, Hi'imai, right?
Like the president of football?
He always has to have his Sefer Torah. What?
Like the president has a football.
I don't know. Oh, talking about like the phone?
The launch
yeah, right. But this is for a different reason. Right? Because the Bechin of Malchus in Klal Yisrael is the Melech is what mirrors Kvayt Shemayim. And everything that we do for Kvayt Malchus is ultimately because the Melech represents Kvayt Shemayim. And the Melech has the grass to his patlas Takadosh Baruch Hu. He is so totally to Takadosh Baruch Hu. And Mela, if the Klal Yisrael is mechabed him because he mirrors Kvayt Shemayim. And for this reason, the Melech has a special mitzvah. Always writing a Sefer Torah and carrying with him wherever he goes, because this is his dveikus to Torah, which is lemaila, his dveikus to Hakadosh Baruch, which is lemaila from any other person in Klal Yisrael. That's what Bechinas Malchus is. Malchus is the Indian of his battles. So you have over here a showdown between Yosef and Yehuda. Yehuda is coming as a gibor, right? Yosef is a melech. Right? So what's going on over here? The process, the Pashas is going on. We are masber is as follows: that Yehuda ultimately has to be crafted. He has to be formed into melech. Al melech, he has to have total spatlus. Yosef, as Moshel of Mitzrayim, his interaction with Yehuda is to be mavatal Yehuda, and to bring out this midah of his spatlus in Yehuda. Amen. Because Yosef ultimately is a hemshech of Yaakov Avinu, like we mentioned this many times, and as a hemshech to Yaakov Avinu, meaning this is in the mashal, right? Yaakov Avinu is bechin of an av, avos are in shemayim kilu, right? They're not on the ground. When you say avos means that they're above, right? They're mashpiyim ultimately. Right, Klal Yisrael's avodah after the avos is to be on the ground, to accomplish on the ground. The Yehuda is the ultimate misbato, and Yosef being a hemshich of Yaakov, because like we said many times, Elah told us Yaakov Yosef that Yaakov and Yosef are one and the same. So Yosef's job is to assure that Yehuda reaches this hisbatos of Melech, and that's what's going on over here. Yehuda's coming as Gibor. The Medrash tells us about all the amazing feats that happened with Yehuda. It describes his tremendous glory. He gave a stomp on the ground, and the buildings in Mitzrayim fell down. His eyes were pouring out blood. His chest and his hair were poking through his armor. Right? It was something like unusually Gibor over here, and he was flexing his muscle. But ultimately, Yosef's job was to let him know. Right? Everything he did. Right? The Medrash says Yosef did something more powerful. His job was to mold Yehuda. So Bama says what's going on over here, which seems to be a conflict between Yehuda and Yosef, is really there's a harmony being made. Right? Yosef is now molding Yehuda to be the madrega of a melech. And that is, he has to be mevatel himself to Yosef, which means be mevatel himself to the avos, be mevatel himself to kvayt shemayim ultimately, because that's what the avos are. Avos are merkava l'shchina, and he has to be mevatel himself to that. And when he's mevatel himself to that, then that's what he shows the whole Klal Yisrael. That Klal Yisrael ultimately takes their example of his batlos Hakadosh Baruch Hu from the Melech, and that's what they're mechaber. When they're mechaber the Melech, they're being mechaber this concept of being able to be misbatel Hakadosh Baruch Hu totally. So that's what's going on over here with Yehuda and Yosef. We find that this bechina of Yehuda and Yosef is as far as them having to interact in order to find to reach a shleimus for the whole Klal Yisrael, we find out later in the parsha also that the Shvatim go back to Eretz Yisrael. They tell Yaakov, right, that the Yosef's in Mitzrayim, and what's the first thing Yaakov does? He sends Yehuda, right? Ves Yehuda by Shishi, Ves Yehuda Shach Lefanav El Yosef, Lahayros Lefanav Geishna, right? Yehuda sent first, right, with Yosef, right, to Goshen, because again, that Yehuda and Yosef, they start off as seemingly having a conflict, but in the end they found the equilibrium, and now Yehuda and Yosef work together to shtel avek Mitzrayim to be a place that Klal Yisrael can settle. Klal Yisrael can't settle any place. Klal Yisrael has to settle in a place where they can connect HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? When you talk about Shvatim settling down someplace, it means they're settling down a place where they can be davik to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, the example of the dveikus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his battles HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Yehuda, and he comes down with Yosef, and again together they set it up. And we mentioned that any time Klal Yisrael needs to go to a new makom, right? You have to have all these three beginnes. You have to have Yaakov, right, which is the mashpia, and Yosef and Yehuda. These three madregas are what sets up Klal Yisrael. And the emphasis this is known as the kav ha'emtzai. Okay, when we have anhaga, we have chesed is yamin, din is small, and in the middle you have the midah of Yaakov, which is called Tiferes, right, or Emes, right, and Emes goes down to Yisoid to Malchus. Okay, so the midah ha'emtzai is.
That's why it tells us Yaakov Yosef.
Right. Yeah. So it's Yaakov, Yosef, and Malchus, which is Yehuda. This is the Kav Emtzai, because this is how Klal Yisrael has equilibrium. This is how Klal Yisrael has balance. So Mela, the balance is being hammered out at the beginning of the parasha when it appears to be conflict. It's being put into play when Yehuda is sent down to Mitzrayim together with Yosef, and Yaakov is being the Mishaleach. He's the one that is orchestrating this whole setup. You mentioned when it came to the Meraglim going into Eretz Yisrael, right? Klal Yisrael had to go to Eretz Yisrael. So you mentioned this in the past, Parshas Shalach, right? That Be'ikar, we said over from the Imrei Noyam, that Be'ikar, the shlichus of the Meraglim to Eretz Yisrael was meant to be mamish this idea. Klal Yisrael is going to Eretz Yisrael, and they have to set up in a way that's balanced. So you have to have again Tiferes, which is Yaakov, Yosef, and Malchus, right? So what was the Meraglim officially supposed to be? Shlach l'cha anoshim. Hashem really wanted to just send two Meraglim, right? Which two Meraglim did he want to send? Yeshua and Kalev. Okay, Yeshua is from Ephraim, and Kalev is from Yehuda. Okay, so you have Yosef, Yehuda. Who's a Mishalech? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is a bechina of Tiferes. Okay, so Mela, this. You remember? Yeah, he says Parshas Shalach, right? And Mela, that is the setting up Eretz Yisrael. And Hagufa, when Yeshua actually, and this was the kasha everyone we answered at the time, right? And Imrei Noam answered this. Meraglim was such a bad thing for Klal Yisrael, so why did Yeshua send Meraglim? Yeshua sent Meraglim the way Yaakov sent Yehuda down to Yosef, right? Yeshua sent Takatu Meraglim. Who did he send? He sent Pinchas and Kalev, right? So Yeshua was the sender. He's Yosef. Kalev is Yehuda, and Pinchas is the Midah Tzais, because that's taka necessary in order for Klal Yisrael to be shtel davek. In any new matziv, they have to have the balance, and that balance is that the kav hemtzai is shalim. The I think we said this over last year, or maybe a couple years ago. But there's a famous Vilna guy in this week's parsha. You remember it? You listened to this recently?
No, because if you're saying that, if you have an Imrei Noam and you're about to say a guy, you're about to say that he's quoting the guy without actually quoting the guy.
Right. Remember that? You can't remember these things. Okay, you're not supposed to remember anything.
Just put on last recording.
Yeah.
The Imrei Noam, he brings down Shemati Shem Gain Echad. I find it fascinating, saying that he quotes Shem Gain Echad. He doesn't say who it is, but Shem Gain Echad. He says over a famous bar from the Gain. Okay, touching up the trap.
And we know for sure it's from the guy.
it's said over from the Gain, you know what I'm saying? And so, we have it from the Gain, and so he said, Shem Gain Echad, interesting terminology. That the trumpet at the beginning of this week's Parsha of Kadma Va'azla Revi is Munach Kadma Va'azla Revi Zarka Munach Sego. Okay? So he says the trup is answering up a kasha. Why is Yehuda the one that is sitting here, Ba'avi HaKair over here? Why is Yehuda the one? He's the fourth of the Shvat. You have Reuven, Shimon, and Levi are older than him. So Vas Epis, Yehuda is the one making the biggest rash over here. L'chayra, maybe Reuven, Shimon, and Levi should have been doing something over here. So Zakta going, what's the pshat? The pshat is because Yehuda took responsibility. Right? He took responsibility for Binyamin, and he had his Olam Haba on the line, right? And Memela, he had the most to lose because he said that if I don't bring Binyamin back, and Memela, he was the one that had to take responsibility. So this is Merumas in the Trup. The Trup is Kadma Va'azla Revi, which means Kadma, he went first, also, and first went forward Revi, the fourth child. Why the fourth child? Because Zarka Munach Segel, because he had thrown away, right, his Segula, his Olam Haba, right? The idea of that Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chayil Olam Haba is the idea of Yisem Li Segula Mikol Amim, right? And Memela, because his Olam Haba was on the line, so Zarka he had thrown away, meaning he had put on the line Munach Segel, the fact that he would have a Menucha and Olam Haba. And this is why he was the one who went by Akaira. So he says, "V'divrei pi chacham chen." Okay, so he likes the word, but the name wants to say a different shot. We said the different shot last year also.
I don't think.
So he said a different. Okay, so that's some.
You have something.
Okay. So the Imre Naim says he says a different shot. He says Azay that that Yehuda Be'emes, he played a very integral role in Yosef being in Mitzrayim and everything that went on with Yosef, because ultimately the Reuven, Shimon, and Levi wanted to kill Yosef. Yehuda says, "Ma betza, we'll sell him." Right? So it comes out by him selling him. He was the Garim that Yosef ended up being the Melech Mitzrayim. Not only that, he says, if not for Yehuda's whole, interaction with Yosef at the beginning of the parsha, right, with him really sitting and fighting and breaking down Yosef's resistance, right? It could be Yosef might not have revealed himself at this point. Who knows how things would have played out, right? It was unclear. Right? The lashon of the pasuk of Yosef lisapek, right? Yehuda brought out some sort of emotional response from Yosef that made that Yosef revealed himself without Yehuda's interaction.
Something happened before that he had to go cry in the other room. What was that?
That was with Yosef. During this whole thing with.
So why didn't he do it at that moment?
Huh?
Why didn't he reveal himself? Why did he go away to the other room and then
he left and he came back and he told him, "I need Yosef." I don't know. Why do you have to step out before he reveals himself? Yeah. I'm not sure. This is not a Parsha shir. This is a Pima Satira shir. So Mele Yehuda, ultimately, he was someone who brought about all these good things that Yosef was in a position now to take care of Klal Yisrael coming down to Mitzrayim. Why was he in this position? Why did Yehuda merit this? Because he did not listen to Shimon and Levi, right? They wanted to kill him, and he separated himself from Shimon and Levi, and Yehuda, he didn't listen to them. When it came to the Degalim, for this reason, Yehuda was not. He was in the Ruach Mizrachis, right? right? Yehuda was the Degel Mizrachis, right? He was on the eastern side, and when it came to traveling, Yehuda was always the one that went first. He was the leader. His Degel Machan Yehuda was what went first. Now, l'chayr, why did he go first? Because l'chayra, Reuven, Shimon, and Yehuda should have gone together, right? Levi's in the middle, right? Levi's and the Machan Levi is in the middle, right? And so Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Reuven, Shimon, and Yehuda should have been on the Mizrachas. However, Zakta Meinoim, Yehuda didn't want to be next to Shimon and Levi because he in the past he felt that he always had to protect Klal Yisrael from their eitzes, and he says to Adim Bayadas Kairach, they're from Shevet Shimon. So he says as so Yehuda is separated from Shimon and Levi, and therefore he is on the Ruach Mizrachis, and he is the one that is always leading the camp, but he's not following together with Shimon and Levi. So he says as the trop is Kadma va'azor revi. This is referring to when Klal Yisrael goes in the Midbar and they start traveling. So it says Kadma va'azor revi, that l'chayra, why is he the one leading the Nasi of Klal Yisrael? Why is he the one that travels first? Which is Kadma va'azor revi. Kadma is lashon of Kedma, a lashon of Mizrach. To the Mizrach, which is the direction they're always traveling, Revi, Yehuda went. Why is Yehuda the Revi, the one going to Mizrach? Because Zarka Munach Segel. Because he constantly was throwing away Menuchasai of the Segel. Segel is Levi, because the Pasuk says, he says this refers to Shevet Levi. So he says, Zarka Munach Segel, because Yehuda was constantly on the run from Shevet Levi. He didn't want to be in the eights of Shimon and Levi. So Mela over here, where we're meramis to this over here, because over here Yehuda is expressing this idea that he's staying away from Levi and Shimon and Levi. Haraya, he's sitting here and he's taking the lead and bringing Klal Yisrael to a matziv that they would not have been with the comfort of Yosef as Melech without Yehuda going against Shimon and Levi. And Zakta Noyam, we're being meramis that L'dairais, right? Yehuda continued in this matziv that he always went Revi. He was always Munach Segel, because he always wanted to avoid the conflict that Shimon and Levi were getting involved in. As I Zak the Nimrei Noam Pshat. Just tell you one other Pshat over here. Some interesting Pshat. Probably said it in the past. We talk about the Ba Mitzrayim. So you go through the Ba Mitzrayim over here. So Ve'ela Shmois B'nei Yisrael Ba Mitzrayim Yaakov Vanu B'char Yaakov Reuven. So we go through the different children that came to Mitzrayim. B'nei Reuven Chanoch Chafal Lechatz V'Karmi B'nei Shimon Yimuel V'Yamuel V'Yach V'Tzaycha. We get to B'nei Yehuda, Er V'Oinon, V'Sheila V'Feretz V'Zarach. Right, the children of Yehuda are Er and Oinon, Sheila V'Feretz V'Zarach. Now we know Er and Oinon did not make it to Mitzrayim, but they're being listed in our list. El Shmois B'nei Yisrael Ba Mitzrayim. Right? So what are we listing over here? B'nei Yehuda, Er V'Oinon, Sheila V'Feretz V'Zarach. Er V'Oinon, they died many years back. The Pasuk fears ice. Yomas Er V'Oinon Beretz Canaan. Right? So why did we mention over here? Right? What's the point of mentioning them over here? If they died in Eretz Canaan, here we say Meil Shmois B'nei Yisrael Ba Mitzrayim. Yaakov, right? So what did they be mentioned over here? So when you read the pasuk, a little I don't know previous, but a little literally, right? Let's read the pasuk together. Read this pasuk straight. V'nei Yehuda Er V'Oinon V'Sheila V'Feretz V'Zarach. Okay, these are the children. Vayomis Er V'Oinon Beretz Canaan, Vayu B'nei Peretz Chetzrain V'Chamol. Okay, meaning we have Er Oinon Sheila and Peretz V'Zarach, and now the end of the pasuk lists the two children of Peretz Chetzrain V'Chamol. But when you read it straight, it's Vayomis Er V'Oinon Beretz Canaan. They died in Eretz Canaan. They're in this galgel into the children of Peretz of Chetzrain V'Chamol. So Chetz and Chamel are Gilgulim of Aaron Einan. So Aaron Einan Be'emes made it to Mitzrayim, not in their original form. They made it as Gilgulim of in the Gilgul of Chetzron and Chamel. That's how you read the pasuk. I remember I saw that Rizal. That Rizal said that Aaron Einan were Megulgul in someone else. I forgot who he said it was, but whatever the dig for the pasuk is, what seemed to be is saying that they were Gilgulim of that Chetzron and Chamel were the Gilgulim of Aaron Einan. It's not an interesting zach. First, one last vart. I said this in share this week. A goin shavart. Once the Emrei Naim gave a haskama on the goin, so we'll have this year. Be'emes, a lot of it is based on Emrei Naim, so we could say another goin shop in the goin. The Gemara says that on the pasuk that when Yosef told his brothers who he is, so he gave l'chulam nasan ish chalifais simolis, right, to all his brothers he gave new suits, new clothing. L'Binyamin he gave chamesh chalifais simolis. Okay, he gave five suits. So, in fact, the Gemara, how could Yosef show favoritism to Binyamin? I mean, he gave 5. He also, I left out a few words. He gave Shalosh Me'ez Kesef. He gave 300 Kesef. Chamesh Chalifei Small. So, guys, we'll leave the 300 Kesef on the side. Well, what's up shot in the 300 Kesef? But the Gemara says, the Gemara asks on the 5 suits, right? Vasapis, he gives Binyamin 5 suits, and the brothers he gives 1 suit. L'chayr is going to make jealousy between the brothers and Binyamin. And L'chayr Yosef should be the most sensitive to jealousy among siblings because Yaakov Avinu gave him 1 Ksenis Pasim, right, which is worth, the Lashon of the Gemara is Shalish Slime, I think is a Lashon, 3 slime of Milas, and for that they sold him to Mitzrayim. So Yosef should have been well aware of sibling rivalry and jealousy, and how could Yosef make the same error by giving Binyamin 5 Chalifas Smolis? Zok the Gemara. He gave him the 5 Chalifas Smolis to be Maram, is that who's going to come out of Binyamin? Mordechai Tzaddik, that he's going to go, Mordechai is going to go, Yosef B'Shai Melch, will wash Tchelis V'chor, huh?
Chavli boots?
Chavli boots, V'agaman? Maybe. Right? Tchelis V'chor, right? He had 5, it mentions 5 articles of Begadim that he has, so he's doing this to be Maram instead of 5 articles of Mordechai Tzaddik. In fact, the Goin, he did not answer the question. Fine, he had a cheshbon behind it, right? But at the end of the day, we can have jealousy. So how could you make cheshbonis to be meramis to Mordechai Tzaddik when this had cataclysmic results in the past? How could you, for Rambam's purposes, do this now? So, Zaktagoin, what's the Gemara's kasha b'chlal, right? He gave Binyamin 5 suits, and he gave them 1 suit. Who told anyone's going to be jealous? Maybe he gave the Shvatim $1,000 suits, and he gave Binyamin 5 $200 suits. Maybe it was even, right? Just because he gave him 5 articles of clothing doesn't mean that the value was more. So why would you assume that there was any difference over here in value? Zaktagoin, the Gemara didn't assume that. Why? Because why would he do that? If it's the same value, so why break it up into 5 pieces in 1? So the Gemara, no, there was a reason why he broke up the $1,000 suit into 5 suits for Binyamin.
5 different types.
5 different clothing, but that Mordechai went out. So what the Gemara is answering is that Avada, the value is exactly the same, right? And this that he broke it up into 5 suits, what makes no sense. Why would you give him 5 cheaper suits? Teretz says he broke up his $1,000 gift into 5 parts to Meravis to Mordechai. But before he'd be Meravis to Mordechai, there'd be no Havamina, right, that he would give him 5 suits the same value. Why don't you give him 1 suit the same value, right? Elamai, if he's giving 5 suits, it must be more valuable. Oh, then it's fair. Why? How's he giving a more valuable gift? And for the Gemara, no, he had a cheshbon behind it. He had a cheshbon behind it. Oh, now that the cheshbon behind it, now we understand why he broke it up. So the value is the same. Mela, there is no jealousy. We should all not be jealous of each other. Good shot.